Good morning, folks. This is Deb Delapiano, and this is your short take. So it's Monday morning, and this is actually supposedly my day off, but I am working. I'm covering a vacation day. But I did want to spend just a few minutes talking to you because what is today and what is tomorrow? According to Donald Trump, tomorrow's the day he's going to be indicted. But please, folks, keep in mind that's coming from a man who told 30,573 documented lies in 4 years. So do I believe an indictment may be coming in New York? I do. But, we have this rambling statement he made on social media. So I want to read it to you, okay? Our nation is now third world and dying. The American dream is dead. The radical left's anarchists have stolen our presidential election and with it, the heart of our country. American patriots are being arrested and held in captivity like animals, while criminals and leftist thugs are allowed to roam the streets, killing and burning with no retribution. Millions are flooding through our open borders, many from prisons and mental institutions. Crime and inflation are destroying our very way of life. Then he goes on to a second tweet. I call it a tweet. It's Truth Social, and it's not truth, okay? Now illegal leaks from a corrupt and highly political Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which has allowed no records to be set in violent crime and whose leader is funded by George Soros, indicate that with no crime being able to be proven and based on an old and fully debunked quote, in parentheses, by numerous other prosecutors, fairy tale, the far and away leading Republican candidate and former president of the United States will be arrested on Tuesday of next week. Protest, take our nation back. So in that rambling piece of shit that I just read to you, there is not one iota of truth in anything he's saying about this country. We do not have open borders. That has been established during a House Oversight Committee. The people from J6 who committed the insurrection are being held like animals. Well, they acted like animals. That's one thing. And leftists aren't roaming the streets, killing and burning. That's a fucking lie. So the man is a liar, okay? We've established this, and he's still fomenting the big lie, okay? So there was no leak from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, okay? If he is indicted tomorrow, it's because the Manhattan District Attorney's Office probably got in touch with his attorneys, because that's the way it's done, okay? That's the way it's done when you're not, just an average American citizen, okay? Like in Florida, say, where people were encouraged to vote, and then Ron DeSantis sent people to their homes to arrest them without any warning. In America, if you're a former president, you get warning like that. They warn you, okay? And indeed, it was reported last week that the Manhattan DA's office did request a meeting with law enforcement for this week. Now, according to the report, which came out of Fox, so again, take everything with a grain of salt, but it was picked up by other news sources. No date was set yet for that meeting between the DA's office and law enforcement. So that was as of last week. As far as I know, it hasn't happened. It could have happened. I wouldn't know, but they're not going to tell the general public every iota of detail before this thing happens. So we don't even know what's happening Tuesday or if it's happening Tuesday. So I'm warning everybody now. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It just means that Donald Trump is blowing it out his ass again, which he does so well almost every time he opens his mouth. But that didn't stop Kevin McCarthy from coming to his rescue, right? So Kevin McCarthy, is indebted to Donald Trump because, of course, Trump was behind him for the speakership from the very beginning. So McCarthy stated that, it was government overreach, all right? He called it, quote, an outrageous abuse of power by a radical DA who lets violent criminals walk as he pursues political vengeance against President Trump. That's a flat out lie, too. But Kevin McCarthy's a liar, as we all know. And he basically sold out the entire House of Representatives for a gavel, which is actually being wielded by Marjorie Taylor Greene. He is not the speaker. She is the speaker. He's also stated, I'm directing relevant committees to immediately investigate if federal funds are being used to subvert our democracy by interfering in elections with politically motivated prosecutions. Really? Well, so let's talk about how federal funds are used at the DA's office. They are often used, spent on things like state and federal funding. They make up a small portion of the district attorney's office. They consist mostly of various grants that support crime victims programs, efforts to prevent intoxicated driving, gender-based violence work, and opioid programming and justice assistance grants. They are not used to victimize people like Donald Trump, as Kevin McCarthy suggests, and he knows that. So what we essentially have is Donald Trump once again calling his minions to the streets, much like he did before January 6th. That's what he's doing, okay? And maybe the DA's office is requesting a meeting with law enforcement, not just to set up the logistics of Donald Trump's indictment, but to make sure that we don't have a repeat of January 6th. Because what we have heard from other sources is that they want to surround Mar-a-Lago, his supporters, and shoot any law enforcement that goes there to try and arrest him. You know what? This is why I say to you that what is going on in America right now with all of these investigations, and, you know, this is not the only crime that Donald Trump has to worry about. Jack Smith just issued subpoenas to everybody who works at Mar-a-Lago, pretty much everybody from servers to the higher echelons in Mar-a-Lago right now, to try to see how documents were moved around, because quite frankly, they don't believe they got all the documents back, and that is clearly obstruction. All right, that's what they're looking at right now. In case anyone is wondering what's going on, that's what's going on. They have a criminal grand jury hearing evidence through March. So for the benefit of all those people who don't think they're doing anything, they actually are. There is a grand jury impaneled, much like they did in Georgia, and there is something going on there. He's got to worry about Georgia as well, because they haven't even indicted yet, but they are close. Will he be on that list? We don't know. Folks, Donald Trump is getting his folks ready to run a repeat of January 6th, but hopefully this time law enforcement will be ready for this. Because what happened on January 6th, in spite of Tucker Carlson's efforts to cherry pick little 6-second snippets of videos to try to make it look like all those people were touring the Capitol, we know what happened, all right? We know what happened. That was not tourists gone awry, and it wasn't Antifa, and it wasn't Black Lives Matter either. In fact, these cretins put themselves on Parler, and those videos still exist, and we will put a copy of that in there, because ProPublica did a brilliant job pulling it all together and showing people exactly what was put on that social media site by the very perpetrators of January 6th. So here we are on the eve of the supposed indictment. I would like nothing more than to see that happen tomorrow. And I'm sure many of you share my sentiment. And we will see where we go from here. But I want to clear the air here and let everyone know that Donald Trump is not an innocent in all of this. And in spite of Kevin McCarthy's protestations, Kevin McCarthy is doing that because he sold himself out. I will talk to you all later.